Hi there, I'm happy to see you here, and my name is Alexa in case you didn't know that, and today isn't going to be the ordinary video. I am not going to tell you about my skincare routine or teach you anything about acne or acne treatments. I want to share my personal story about how I got it in the first place, what steps I made that led me to it. I feel like my story is quite unique, but at the same time, I'm sure that a lot of girls might be going through the same right now, and so maybe this will help you not to feel alone. And we will get closer after this. I don't know. Let's get started. Imagine me, a 13-year-old girl. For my personal reasons, I start taking hormones to get my period going. I was already kind of going through puberty like any normal girl, and of course I occasionally had some acne, a few pimples here and there, majorly on my forehead I remember, and sometimes here, but nothing too bad. Like, it wasn't really that bad. It was just a few pimples and nothing to really get concerned. By the age 15 I was already on birth control, but not because I didn't want to get pregnant. I was obviously way too young for that, but because it was prescribed by my doctor to have a regular period. And I was already into modeling at the time, going to a few photo shoots, and never have I ever heard from anyone that, oh my god girl, your face doesn't look good, you have to take care of acne first and then you can come back. Never has my agency or any photographer or any clients told me that, so I believe my acne wasn't really that bad. It was just fine. Everyone understood that I'm going through puberty, and you know, we're all people and that's part of the life. That's okay. But then I go to my gynecologist for a regular visit, and she starts with, oh, I see you have a little bit of a problem there. I'm like, maybe. Okay. And she's like, okay, if birth control doesn't help your acne, I'm gonna give you some pills that's gonna make it go away. I'm like, perfect, let's do it. And I was already planning a trip to Europe at the time, so I wanted to be my best. I wanted to look really good and just be perfect, so I got into it right away. I ended up taking those pills for 6 years, and I had the best skin ever. Like, oh my god, baby face, not even one comedone. I was never concerned, I was never too oily. It was just perfect. Like, I did not need to do anything with it. I don't want to tell you the specific name of those pills, but they work by blocking androgen receptors in our body, and androgens are male hormones that trigger acne, especially hormonal acne and acne during puberty. So it was working just fine, but by the age 20 I started reading about those pills, like what do they do, what they are, like why is my skin looking so good. What I found out is they do not really treat acne. It's not their job in the first place. They are made for male that are treating testicular cancer. And on top of that, they are extremely toxic for our liver. There are some people that were taking too much and over some time they died. And I was like, what am I doing? I gotta stop. Like, I gotta take care of myself and my body. I have to be an adult here. And so I go for a regular visit to that same gynecologist that has been treating me since I was 13. And I'm like, what if we just stop doing all that to my body? What if we just let me have my own natural cycle for the first time ever? Because since I was 13, I was always on some sort of medication, especially hormones, that kept my cycle happening. And I'm like, what if we just stop all that? Let my body work, let my body, you know, stabilize itself. And she goes, baby, you'll never have your own cycle. Your body, your hormones are just way too disbalanced. It's never gonna work. Like, you will end up, like, she told me that if I stop, I will eventually end up having a surgery, but I don't really remember like why and what. And by the way, I don't have any problems. Like, having my period was the only reason I was ever taking hormones, and that it just like ended up going and never stopping. I'm like, okay, what if I want to get pregnant? What do I do that if I don't have my own period? She's like, then you come to me and I'll give you some other pills that you will get pregnant on. I'm like, so for the rest of my life, I have to be tied to all this medicine and all these toxins that get into my body. She's like, yes, that's right. I never saw her again, because at that point I realized that that's not the doctor I want to trust, that's not the doctor I want to follow, and there is some other solution that I have to look for. And so I make a decision to stop taking those pills that control my acne. Before, my skin was absolutely gorgeous, like I was maybe getting one pimple a year. That's how great they were working. But in the long run, that's too much of a price I have to pay, like my body has to pay. I stopped. It was right after COVID started. My face was alright for first 5 or 6 months, and then I started getting a few pimples a month. I now understand that those were deep cystic acne that I had to immediately take care of, but I simply did not know anything about skincare or about acne or about how my face works. Zero. So I was absolutely not worried and not concerned. So I'm still on birth control, and I think that, you know, maybe it's going to help my skin a little bit. I go to New York for a modeling contract, and like the worst nightmare happens. I start breaking out really badly in these areas. I have like those purple huge pimples that are extremely painful, that take ages to heal, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I go back home to LA, and I immediately start trying everything. So I tried tea tree oil, zero. I tried coconut oil as a moisturizer because it's all natural. That only made worse. I try every home remedy there is, and that's how my face looked like at the time, when I'm like, I have to change something, like something doesn't work. And that's when I stopped taking birth control. 2 months after that, I get my period. My already different gynecologist, she's like, your hormones are absolutely fine. My DHT was a little bit, tiny little bit higher. That's why I was getting those pimples. But since I stopped taking hormones and got to my natural cycle, my skin just started to improve. Like that. I was like, wow, it's working. It's so great. I was already seeing an esthetician, and she helped me a lot as well. But the underlying problem were my hormones. They were like balancing. And I was like, I can't believe it. First of all, I'm 21 already. I'm finally having my natural cycle. Alright, it's not as regular, but like, I'm there. Everything was working out. I was really happy, especially looking where I came from. I was good. And then I go to Turkey for another modeling contract. I didn't really cook anything by myself. I used to go to restaurants only, and that was the problem, because anything that's made at the restaurant isn't really that good for you because of all the sauces, and they don't really use the best oils. And baklava, oh my god, I love baklava. That's the best, the most delicious sweet ever. I dive into it, my acne comes back, and then right after I go back to LA, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm lost. And my husband remembers of a Chinese herb practitioner that once helped him with his gut problems. I go to him, and he makes a specific blend of herbs that I have to boil for 2 hours, and then I have to drink these specific portions of this tea. It was really expensive, like $300 or $400 for 1.5 months. But it works. It works in 2 months. My skin gets back to normal, and everything's good again. I get occasional breakouts, my skin is healing, it's all good, I'm happy. I go through summer like that, everything looks good, and then eventually tea stops working. I don't know, maybe I got used to it, maybe he wasn't making such a good formula anymore because he was constantly changing it, and my acne comes back. I'm really not depressed, but I'm upset all the time, so I dive into sweets. That only makes my acne worse, and that's when I'm like, I gotta stop. I gotta start doing really good skincare and having a really good diet. So once I started taking regularly benzoyl peroxide, I stopped eating sugar and processed sugar. I don't really have any food in here, but when I buy anything, I always look at the bag to see how much sugar it has, because that's what really triggers my acne. Technically, I've been through ups and downs all the time. I now have my regular period. I have a little bit of makeup now, but I mean, you can see that there are no bumps. You can see my previous videos where I am absolutely makeup free. My skin is really good, like really good. So that is my story. The point of my whole journey is that you always have to listen to your body. You always have to listen to yourself first. I am not regretting my decision of stopping taking all the medication that I was taking at the time and going through this terrible acne. And so I just want you to believe that no matter what happens, if your acne relapses, you will always find a way out of it, as long as you're consistent, as long as you listen to yourself, as long as you are doing everything that is in your interest, and you are aware of the product or of the reasons that trigger your acne. Because I've been through a lot. I've cried myself to sleep quite a few times. I stopped believing that my skin will ever be clear again. I stopped believing that I will ever get back to modeling. And right now, with the face that I have, I still have some post-acne, I still have some occasional breakouts, but no one ever tells me that my skin looks bad and that I have to stop doing it. I mean, clients, photographers, makeup artists, my agencies, no one. So you just have to have faith and trust the process, and you'll absolutely get there, especially if you follow me, because I will obviously help you do it faster. So thank you for watching me, and I'll see you in my next video.